Hey everybody, Cody Crawford back here. Today's topic of discussion is going to be the challenges to creating retirement income. And I really want to emphasize the word income here. This is not about the challenges to creating retirement net worth or creating retirement assets. It's about income. And I learned this very on in my financial services career, working with a gentleman right after '08 who had accumulated substantial property. He had some beautiful works of art, gold, silver, and a lot of other tangible assets. Now, I am for diversification of asset classes, but it's important to know that when you get to retirement, it's all about income. This man could not sell his property. The real estate market was bad. He wasn't selling his works of art, and he wasn't charging people to come see him. Okay, you don't earn interest off your gold and silver, so he wasn't able to do much. Okay, it's all about income. Retirement income is greater than retirement assets. So let's talk about the challenges to creating retirement income. Number one, and by far the most important, is life expectancy. Guys, if you retire at age 65, and there's an email, and you pass away at age 66, doesn't matter what taxes were, doesn't matter what inflation was, doesn't matter if you forgot to purchase a long-term care policy, you didn't live long enough for it to make a difference, right? But if you retire at 66 and you live to 85, 90, or 95, it's all these other challenges that make longevity a risk multiplier. The longer you live, the more taxes you're going to pay, the more you got to deal with inflation, the crazier the election cycle is going to be, the more you got to worry about up and down markets, all right? So that's the biggest challenge to creating retirement income. Number two, inadequate savings. Average couple today is retiring with $100,000, really $100,000 in savings. 93% say they are financially insecure. Now, we can talk about why that is, and I believe it's because of an antiquated education system that doesn't focus on real things. That's my rant for today. We'll focus on that on another day. But inadequate savings. You got to make sure you know what you need in retirement, and you got to have a plan for getting there. Number three, by far probably the biggest component I see people not take account of or just ignore altogether is inflation. But Cody, the government says there's no inflation. We know that there is. I encourage everybody here to go to shadowstats.com. The way that the government calculates inflation today, the methodology they use is a lot different than they did in the 70s or 80s. Okay, so at shadowstats.com, this man has put together an inflation calculation assuming that they calculate inflation the same way. And his numbers are about 7, 8, 9% inflation. Now, can you imagine if you had to put 7, 8, or 9% on veterans benefits or Social Security checks? Heck, we already have, $20 trillion in debt. We'd be wiped out even quicker. Okay? The next one, taxes. Who thinks taxes will go up in the future? I don't know. We have 20 trillion in debt. Maybe not. Who thinks they'll go way higher? Now raise your hand. Do you want to pay those taxes? What are you going to do to make sure you don't have to pay more than you're supposed to? There's two concepts out there. You have tax preparation and you have tax planning. Tax preparation looks behind you. Tax planning is all about focusing on strategies that will reduce your income tax liability legally in the future. Okay, so that's going to be huge. Now, rising healthcare costs is the next one. An average family of two is paying $16,000 a year for healthcare. Now, what if we do just have, let's say, 7% inflation? I'm not talking about Zimbabwe inflation or Venezuela inflation. I'm not even talking about Jimmy Carter inflation. Now, if we just have 7% inflation, that means in 10 years prices will double. That means the average couple will pay $32,000 in healthcare costs. Guys, it's not going to happen. People cannot afford that. Okay? So, and in fact, your working years, inflation is a little bit less than it would be in your retirement years because of housing and because of healthcare. Okay, so you really got to have a plan for this. Next is going to be unrealistic expectations. You could have listened to a video like this in the 90s and I would have told you, hey, expect 12% on your money. Everything's going to be okay. It's not realistic. We've got so much volatility today. We've got 0% interest rate environment. 23 countries are paying negative interest rates. Things are different. The stock market is at an all-time high. Bond rates and interest rates are at all-time lows. There exists this huge chasm. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the world. So things are pretty crazy right now in the markets, okay? The next is bad advice. You know, there's a lot of radio commentators out there that I respect that are giving advice, say, on getting people out of debt, and they're really good at what they do. These people are the same people that are not investment licensed, they're not insurance licensed, they're not financial planners, and they're telling you, hey, just expect 12% on your money and everything's going to be okay. Guys, that is bad advice, okay? You sprinkle in some bad advice with some unrealistic expectations, and you're going to be in a world of hurt. So we got to make sure we get this right. By far, the number one thing that people tell us their biggest fear in retirement is running out of money. Okay, it's running out of money. And why? The people that are taking these surveys in 07 and 06 that retired, they had to pull money out of their retirement portfolio in 08 at the same time they lost 40%. Right? They're the ones answering these surveys. They're the ones that are working at Sam's at 80 years old, checking receipts, or at Wendy's at 75 at the cashier table. Okay, so as we go through the next couple weeks, we're going to go through some video series, and I'm going to really focus on how do we take the 401ks, the IRAs, the pensions, Social Security benefits, and coordinate those to fund the quality of life that we need in retirement. You know, what a blight on the financial community that people have just been sold a bunch of products, a bunch of accounts with different amounts, but no real retirement roadmap. So as we go through this, that's what we're going to focus on. How do we create that? Again, funding a quality of life. You work for 30 years, not so that you can keep working or enjoy a bad quality of life. We're really going to focus on how do we do this the right way. I hope this helped you. Looking forward to seeing you again. Thanks.